One, two, three, four, five. Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer here. We are looking at coming up here on the 7:15 streaming show. A lot going on today, running a little bit late. I still got to log into the weather computer here. All right, got that. Just about ready to go. It says it's still 7:14. We haven't made it to 7:15 yet, so I'm not late. Got to put us online on a couple other things like Roku. I think I've got all the buttons pushed. It says 7:15, and it looks like we should be ready to go. So, and my levels look to be okay. So again, we can go to our controlling software, and it says everything's rolling. I got to make sure I've got the weather computer ready to go. As you can tell, there we are. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer. It's the 7:15 live First Alert streaming weather show. You can take a look at downtown Cincinnati here from South Fairmont, which is on the other side of 75, a little bit northwest of downtown, and look at the sky. Doesn't look like that deep blue we had before. What it actually looks like is a hazy sky, and that's because the humidity is on the increase around the tri-state. And the humidity is definitely going to be a factor. Tomorrow will be a little higher, Saturday a little higher than Friday, Sunday a little higher than Saturday, and then when we get into Monday, it's going to jump way up, and we should see heat index values Monday, Tuesday, and maybe even Wednesday at 100 degrees. I think 95 in most areas for Wednesday, but over 100 for Monday and Tuesday. So the hot and really sticky stuff is on its way back into the tri-state. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is the drought monitor. I promised you yesterday, if you were watching the show, we talk about that. And I still think the drought monitor has some problems. The yellow there, and I'll zoom in a minute, the yellow there is abnormally dry, as you can see from the key at the top. The pinkish color is a moderate drought, and notice way to the north and way to the south, things are about normal as there's no shading. But if we take a look at this a little bit closer, notice how Adams and Lewis counties are rated as about normal. Southern Owen, most of Grant, most of Pendleton, a little bit of Bracken counties also rated about normal. I'm sorry, but I've heard a lot from people down that way whose farm ponds are drying up in that. I just think the drought monitor people don't have either sufficient data or the data is in error, because I know darn well in the southeastern part of Highland County, Adams County, and Lewis counties, it is drier than normal. I would call it abnormally dry. Same thing for Owen, Grant, and Pendleton, along with that little piece of Bracken County. So, and it really doesn't take the drought monitor. If you're a farmer, or if you're a gardener, or your lawn is looking kind of dry and crispy, you know it's abnormally dry. And so this is just an idea that they say the driest part of our viewing area, though, extends from around Greensburg, all of Ripley County into Ohio, through to the northeast up into the Wilmington area. So that is what the drought monitor says. Now here is the rainfall forecast for tomorrow through the 8th of August. Now remember, when we go out this far, it's not as accurate as the forecast for tomorrow, but we're looking at the gradual increase. Now what we're doing, this is cumulative, okay? And so when we're talking about cumulative rainfall, we start off tomorrow at 0, and each day we get a little bit, we add on to it, and by the time we get to the 8th of August, the model that we're using, the CFS, or the Climate Forecast System, says that we should get about 3.2 inches of rainfall. Now this is a spaghetti plot, and this is the average. So you can see there are some models that say as much as maybe 6 inches, and some models as little as an inch. Okay, so you've got that spread here, and the farther out you go, the greater the uncertainty becomes because the spread is bigger. So this is the average, okay? And we know that the nature of precipitation in the summer is spotty. And every once in a while you get a widespread storm that covers the entire viewing area. But in most cases, summertime precipitation is spotty showers and thunderstorms, and those spotty showers and thunderstorms can dump a lot of rain but leave your next door neighbor practically dry. And so we've got to not take it with a grain of salt, but we have to understand what this really means. This is that, you know, the greatest chance of measurable rainfall in any one area is 3.2 inches. That's the accumulation total from the 12th of July through the 8th of August. Okay, so, and that's about what it's been. I mean, it stays that way for quite some time. Now we're getting to later in the season, so the normal temperatures are beginning to cool off, and so that's going to be reflected when we take a look at how much rainfall we need. Again, you can look at it full screen here. The rainfall needed, or the potential evapotranspiration, and that's just a big fancy term for how much rain evaporates and how, from the soil and how much rain is transpired by the plants. 5.9 inches. Now, the last time we looked at this, it was as high as 6.5 inches. And so reflecting the fact that we're going to begin to see normal temperatures drop off a little bit, that's come down. But we still have a deficit. Look at that. The deficit is 2.7 inches between tomorrow and the 8th of August. And we're already pretty dry. As a matter of fact, I meant to check that. I didn't quite get to it. But let me... While we're here talking about this, and I'm going to put it back full screen so you can look at it in more detail. And so it's not an encouraging look, as a matter of fact. What we have here, okay, give me a second. I'm trying to get to the National Weather Service climate summary for the day today. Okay, in the daily climate summary says, now this is, of course, the 11th of July. So far for this month, the 11th of July, since we are a 1/4 inch greater than normal, but since the 1st of June, we're 3.7 inches below normal. Okay, so we've got 2.7 inches shy of normal there in the forecast that you see right here. 3.7 inches shy of normal, and so we still could be 6 or 7 inches below normal in most locations on precipitation by the time we get to the 8th of August. So it looks like warm weather, dry weather, but not exceedingly hot because we do have a cooling trend coming in, and I'll show you that when we get to the Climate Prediction Center stuff. And so, again, the nature of summer precipitation, mostly spotty thunderstorms, so some areas get some don't. And the outlook is that we're going to fall short of what we need between now and the 8th of August, and that will just increase the deficit that we have. So the outlook is for dry weather to continue. Airport temperatures right now, 87 at CVG. Cincinnati did make it up to 90 again today. Notice that it's only 70 in Batesville, 73 in Oxford, 77 in Hamilton, Middletown 75, Richmond 70. That's because of rain-cooled air. And we'll look at the radar in a second here, and you'll see what's going on there. And the heat index, only in the 70s where that rain-cooled air hit, but 89 is the heat index at CVG. So it's only a couple degrees warmer than the temperature because the humidity is really not that bad out there right now. Okay, so here is the rainfall pattern that we've got going. Notice it's mostly in the north and west, and what I want you to see here is that notice how it's trying to grow to the south and west here, but also watch a shower pop up here, and once it crosses 65, it just evaporates. So there's a lot working against the rain to hold together as it comes into the viewing area. So what we're looking at here is we're talking about showers and thunderstorms. They could pop up in almost any location. We are not talking about any kind of severe weather. They're moving quickly enough so that the total at any one location won't be that great. But you could see a ½ an inch to an inch of rainfall out of this, but it will be spotty in the area overnight. Here's a little bit closer look at it. So you can see from most of Ripley County, north of Versailles, and most of Decatur County got some, a good portion of Franklin, Fayette, and Union, and we're seeing quite a bit in Butler County, just a little bit in Hamilton County, and those are the counties that are getting rain so far. And then if you look off to the south and west, look out towards St. Louis there, you can see more activity west of Evansville, Indiana. That'll mostly die out with the setting sun, but we still have the chance for a shower in the area overnight. Sunset, 9:06, 87 right now. We drop by 11 o'clock to 74. Light winds out of the southeast. Overnight, a low of 66. That'll be somewhere around 6 a.m. And then tomorrow's high, 89. That'll be about 5 p.m. And again, tomorrow, because the humidity is going to be a little bit higher, that heat index will probably be 91 to 93 around the tri-state. And then over the weekend, the temperature and humidity will both tick up a little bit before it gets really steamy and uncomfortable and actually dangerously hot and humid for Monday and Tuesday. Okay, so Let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center says. Climate Prediction Center says in days 6 to 10, so it's the 17th of July through the 21st of July, it looks like a cooler than normal pattern develops over top of the Fox 19 Now viewing area. Excuse me for a second. And for those of you that have been watching for a while, you know that excuse me for a second was because I get a little Diet Mountain Dew. Okay, so warmer than normal in the northwest, warmer than normal in the southeast. That warmer than normal out west, it's going to be a lot hotter than normal. Ethan Emery pointed out to me that earlier this week, Las Vegas had an all-time record high of 120 degrees, and it looks like there'll be a number of spots that get that hot. And the models that we've been watching say that the Central Valley of California, right in here, okay, that's where Lodi is, and that's where all the agricultural stuff is, has one location right there in the center having high temperatures of 105 or higher for 14 straight days, peaking at 112. So it's going to be really hot, really dry, and fire season, it looks like it's going to go wild because there's very little precipitation coming out that way. Okay, let's go back to full screen here. And so you can see that cooler than normal pattern kind of continues through the 25th. We'll see what that looks like when we go to our 14-day temperature outlook. Now remember, we're also talking about averages here. We're not talking about any one individual day. It's the average over that span of time. Okay, so it looks like we might have a cooling trend coming our way, and the 3 to 4 week outlook is updated tomorrow, so I'm not going to show you the old one because it may just mislead you. Okay, so here's the precipitation pattern. The Fox 19 Now viewing area from the 17th to the 21st, somewhere between near normal and slightly wetter than normal.
Jeff Creighton.
Okay. Hang on just a second. Hey, Jeff, I'm doing a live weather show from the streaming center. Let me call you back, okay? Hey, and hang on here a second. Everybody on the live streaming show, they're watching on Facebook and YouTube. Meteorologist Jeff Creighton, he's going to give me some advice here, and I'm going to call him back when the show's over. So I'll call you back, Jeff. Bye. Okay, so that was meteorologist Jeff Creighton. He retired from here. He comes back and helps us. The last time he came back was when Catherine Bodak was out on maternity leave, and the time that he came back before that was the last time Catherine Bodak was on maternity leave. So each time Catherine Bodak had one of her children, Jeff filled in for her, and he's a great meteorologist. I worked with him at another TV station for a long time, and I tell you what, he really knows radar, as good as anybody I've ever worked with at interpreting what's going on radar. So I'm always happy to hear from Jeff because he's always got some useful advice, okay, so from days 8 to 14, that's the 19th to the 25th, near normal to slightly wetter than normal, so that doesn't really change much. So basically what we've got coming our way is, I tell you, hot and fairly dry weather. And I've been saying this for quite some time. Remember that we need more than slightly wetter than normal conditions to overcome the deficit we already have and the warm, dry weather we're going to have. So here's the 7-day forecast. We're looking at a low tonight at 66, high of 89, 68 and 92, mostly sunny on Saturday. Just a chance of a pop-up storm on Sunday and 91. Okay, now, chance Friday, and most of that will be gone before the baseball game. So if you're going to Great American Ballpark, it looks good. I'll show you the forecast in a second. Looks dry Saturday, and then just a chance on Sunday, but not much. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they are all going to be really, really hot. But here's the forecast for fireworks Friday. We're looking at 87 degrees as the game begins. That's at 7:10. By the time the game ends, and we don't know what time that will be, but our best estimate is 75 degrees, and that's also when the fireworks start, and it's always nice. We've got a nice camera that we have on Newport on the Levee. We've got a perfect shot of the fireworks, so if the fireworks overlap with the newscast, we usually are able to show them to you. Okay, so let's get back to the 7-day. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, high temperatures in the 90s. The heat index Monday and Tuesday around 100, 95 on Wednesday for that heat index, and then isolated thunderstorms Thursday, but look at the high, 84, as some cooler weather makes it into the tri-state. So then, after that high of 84, we've got from the 19th, the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, along with the 23rd, we've got highs in the 80s, so slightly warmer than normal. Chance of rain, 19th through the 21st. And then on the 25th, 24th and 25th, we're back in the 90s with no chance of rainfall. So here's a summary of what that looks like. I've got high temperatures, below normal just for a couple days, warmer than normal the rest of the time. As we go into later in the 14-day stretch, the high temperatures are warmer than normal, but not that much, not like the early part. Same thing with the low temperatures. So what happens here is when the Climate Prediction Center says, oh, just slightly warmer than normal, a little bit about normal or slightly warmer. If you take the average each day, the high and low, and average it out, then take the average of the averages, it's going to end up just a little bit cooler than normal. And as a matter of fact, when we get some updated weather information, these temperatures may come down a little bit as we head into tomorrow, and we update that. Okay, so let me go now. What I usually do is I change cameras, and I'm getting better and better at changing cameras smoothly so I don't bounce around quite a bit. And, you know, sometimes old dogs can learn new tricks, okay? So let's go ahead and go to Facebook. Again, we still don't have it set up so that you can comment from YouTube. So if you're watching from YouTube, our goal is to get that set up, but we're just now getting comfortable with the way you have to set it up. And I tell you what, I've blown it up a couple times and not been live on YouTube. But once we get settled in and get it going, we'll do that completely. Okay, so back to Facebook now and get some comments. All right. Nick Fisher, when will the large wide-scale rain systems come back? Okay, that's typically when we start to get into the latter part of autumn. Okay, typically September and October, fairly dry months around the tri-state. And as we get to later and later in the season, we get more and more winter-like storms. And so typically, now it can happen, I mean, we can have one of those come through in the summer, but they're not too common. So typically as we head into the latter part of autumn. And so Nick Fisher wants to know about that. Like the kind that stretches over many states. Lately, all the storms have been small, isolated, and fizzle out quickly. And that's kind of a summer thing, Nick. And so as we get past summer, we end up with a couple of months where there's a lull in the action. That's usually September and October. Then as we get into November, it really begins to pick up. And that's when you get the storms, the big widespread storms that cover several states in a row. Nick says he's located in Cleveland. Hey, we have our sister station up there is WOIO, and Jason is the chief meteorologist. He's a good guy, so you can get some good information from him. So he's located in the Cleveland area, and all the storms keep fizzling out before getting here, while neighbors in Michigan are getting drowned. Yeah, and see, that's a jet stream thing. The jet stream on Earth, in the northern hemisphere, it expands in the winter. There's a lot of cold air over the poles, and that, of course, is much colder and larger in area in the winter. And so the jet stream, which is on the edge of that, expands, and so that pushes the storm track further south. When you get into summer, the cold air contracts. The jet stream, which is on the edge of that, also heads back to the north, and so you get more action up in like the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, Lower Canada, or Southern Canada. And so, and that's a good observation, as a matter of fact, Nick. Very good observation. Darren York said, hope I had a good afternoon. This weather is not looking good for us grass cutters. You know what? Earlier in the spring, there was so much rain coming down that you couldn't keep up with it. Now it's slowed down so much. As a matter of fact, our backyard, I haven't cut that for like a month now because it just, even though we've gotten 2 inches of rain in the last 10 days at my house, it still isn't enough, and the grass just is not growing much. Hi, Melvin. Melvin Stone Street says hello to everybody. Mandy Goins. Okay, now if you watched this morning at noon, or I guess at noon, if you watched Ethan Emery, he was talking about the ridge riders, and there's going to be a big ridge of high pressure, and the jet stream is going to be way to the north over the western states. And typically you get storms that slide down that ridge, and they don't last forever. They die out a little bit. So I'm saying, yeah, we could see some severe storms, but I don't think the best chance is Monday or Tuesday. I think Wednesday or Thursday would be the best chance for getting some severe storms. So there's that chance, but we're not convinced. It's pretty far out now. Nessa J said, hey, Jeff Creighton. She says, hey, Jeff and Steve. So, Jeff, people haven't forgotten you. They still love you, even if you're just talking to me on the phone. So, hi, Sam Davis. How are you? And then Nessa, said, today was very nice, and we've got all kinds of happy emojis here. So, let's see, the Molly Purcell Pollock had a beautiful day up in Pleasant Plain, Ohio, and let's see. It just jumped to the end, Molly, so I've got to find what else you said. Beautiful day here. No storms here for Pleasant Plain, but you might see, let's go ahead back and check radar really quick, Molly. You might have some storms coming. Okay, go to radar. Okay, it's loading up. Let me see what I've got on. I can't remember what. All right, so as soon as it loads in the machine, I will put it full screen so you can see it. Okay, so up by Stone Lick Lake, there's a chance, Molly Purcell Pollock, you'll get some rainfall out of this, because it looks like it's staying in the north. Now, the stuff that's up in Franklin County, Indiana, is heading north and east, so that won't make it that far east. But it does look like some of the stuff in Ripley and Dearborn County, if it holds together, will bring you at least a little bit of rain. It's not going to be a drought buster, but it definitely could bring you a little bit of rain out there. So I'll keep my fingers crossed, Molly, you get some. Okay, April Gambrell-Bick says, I just tuned in. Curious, have any predictions for what winter might hold this year? Wasn't extremely cold for too long last year. Yeah, we just had really one real short bout of cold weather. It was about a week long. And that's typical of an El Nino winter. Now, an El Nino winter is when on either side of the equator in the Pacific Ocean, the water is warmer than normal. That was this last winter, okay? And it doesn't sound like it could affect the entire global circulation pattern, but it does, because if you go from 10 degrees north of the equator to 10 degrees south of the equator, and go from Asia all the way over to South America, that's about 5 times the area of the 48 lower states in the U.S. And so if you have that much area, millions of square miles with warmer than normal water, that puts a lot of heat in the atmosphere, and that kind of changes things. Well, one of the reasons we're having the dry, kind of hot weather now is because we're transitioning from that El Nino pattern to the opposite, which is a La Nina. El Nino means the little boy, and it's a long story, but it started as a little rainy season on the coast of South America, the west coast of South America, Ecuador in particular. And that rainy season tended to coincide with Christmas season. And so the faithful Catholics that lived along the west coast of South America and Ecuador thought of it as a gift from the Christ child. And if you look at the word El Nino as a proper noun in that part of South America, means the Christ child. Now, El Nino as a non-proper noun just means a little boy. And so they began calling that rainy season that occurs around Christmas El Nino. Well, it turns out that every once in a while the rainy season got way out of hand, and when scientists first started discussing it and studying it, they called it El Nino because they just thought it was a bigger, angrier, same kind of rainy season that they have in South America around Christmas. But it turns out this was completely different. It's global. It just occurs at about the same time of the year. So El Nino stuck. Okay, and then the opposite, at first, and this is a good example of why you got to do your homework before you start naming things. First, scientists started calling it El Nino, and the opposite they called Anti-Nino. Well, Anti-Nino doesn't mean the opposite of the Christ child. It means the Antichrist in South America, and so that was not a good thing for all the faithful down there. So scientists finally decided on La Nina. Little boy, little girl is the opposite. Okay, so that's a little cultural history and how scientists have to pay attention to what they're doing when they do it. But so El Nino became the warm water, which was associated with wet weather in South America, right where the normal seasonal El Nino is. And then La Nina, the opposite of that, means cold water along the equator from Asia to South America, again, covering a larger area than 5 lower 48 states. And that also, when you think of it, a lot of water, colder than normal, cooling the atmosphere, that also affects global circulation. So we can't give you a forecast for next winter, but it looks like it's going to be a La Nina winter, which means a wetter, more active. Now, when I say wetter, I want to say that with caution because if we have a wetter winter, one of those wetter patterns, one of those wetter weather patterns is bound to coincide with some colder air and bring snow. So not only will a La Nina winter typically be more active than an El Nino winter, it'll be mild, it will have some cold spells, and it will have more precipitation than normal, and that could mean, depending on how the cold air masses move around, and that could mean snowier than normal. Okay, so that's all we can say about it right now. And I always like to tell people that, we'll really know what next winter is going to be like by the time we get to March of next year, because we just have to look back and see. But seasonal forecasting is coming a long, long way, but this far out it's kind of hard to tell. But we can say anticipate wetter, mild weather, the chance of more snow than normal during the winter of next year. That would be December, January, and February. December 2024, January and February 2025. We used meteorological winter for that. Okay. Susan Wally Coriel said, and where she lives in Blanchester, no rain, 1 mile away, they got an inch. And that's just the nature of summer precipitation, I'm afraid. That's just the way it works. So, Molly Purcell Pollock says they need rain too. Their pond is drying out or getting close to drying out. And Molly does not want rain on Saturday because it's her granddaughter's 5th birthday. And I think the odds are with you, Molly, that it'll just be hot, it'll be humid, but Saturday looks like it'll be sunny and dry, so that's good news. Okay, let's see. Okay, those are all the comments. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to eventually comment on that. We just have to, it takes us a long time to get all these little pieces because we've got 12 things going on here. And usually in TV years ago, there'd always be another person or two here taking care of all this. Now it's one person that's doing it all, and once we get used to it, it's okay. All right, let's go back to the 7-day forecast. We'll review that quickly, and then I must get going tonight. All right. So and we'll do the 14-day forecast also. So we're loading that. Okay, so any second the 7-day forecast will pop up. Okay, there it is. We'll go back to full screen. And we're talking about a low of 66, a high of 89 for Friday with some scattered showers and thunderstorms. It looks like they'll all be gone by 4 to 5 o'clock. So if you have evening plans Friday, I don't think it's going to be rainy. And that means if you go down to the ballpark, it should be a nice evening for baseball and fireworks. And here's the forecast. For fireworks Friday down at Great American Ballpark, first pitch 7:10, 87 degrees. When the game ends, about 75. That's when the fireworks begin. So a really nice evening without any rain in the forecast for fireworks Friday. Saturday, mostly sunny and 92. Chance of a pop-up storm on Sunday. Not a washout. Everybody won't get rain. High of 91. 94 Monday, 93 Tuesday. Now Monday, we do not have showers in the forecast. That heat index 100 or higher. Tuesday, the heat index 100 or higher with a chance of a pop-up thunderstorm. And then on Wednesday, down to 90 with a heat index around 95 because showers and thunderstorms should be a bit more widespread. Then Thursday, a cold front arrives. That cold front should get here in the morning, and so in the afternoon, it'll begin to dry out. It'll begin to cool off, so we only have a high of 84 in the forecast. So that's it for now. Thank you for joining me. Hope you got some useful information out of this. Remember, we do this every Monday through Friday at 7:15. It lasts for about a half an hour. Sometimes it's lasted as long as an hour before, but most of the time I only have time for a half an hour to 45 minutes. We also do this at noon. Same place that you're seeing this. You can get a live streaming show. It'll either be Ethan Emery or Ashley Smith, depending on who's on that day. Now, Saturday and Sunday, we also have one at 11 a.m. and we have one at 6 p.m. Now, tomorrow, there won't be either of those. 11 a.m. is canceled, so 6 p.m. is canceled only because they're doing a major renovation to our network and the way we connect to our corporate. And so a lot of things will be down. And so the 11 a.m. show and the 6 p.m. streaming shows, both of those tomorrow, will be canceled. But Ethan Emery will be back at 6 p.m. on Sunday, and Ashley Smith will be back at 11 a.m. on Sunday also. So that's it for now. Thank you for joining me. Have yourself a nice evening.